Oh boy, I sure enjoyed Penacony. So far, definitely the best planet I've played so far. Characters on point, interesting setting, and some really awesome moments sprinkled in. God, those Acheron cutscenes, ooh, they did something to me. Wow, wee mama! And now there's Amphoreus right around the corner to look forward to. I do wonder though, is it gonna be as good as Penacony?
Baby, watch it burn into isolation. Watch it burn, ain't got no hesitation.
Yeah, voice clear. Welcome back to Honkai Star Rail, where this time, instead of heading into the depths of the human mind to solve murder mysteries and fight a man attempting to ascend to godhood, we're now heading to ancient Greece to help Sisyphus and his gang, that'll make sense later, to slay some gods. In this planet, the people face an affliction called the Dark Tide, which corrupted the once friendly, some more than others, deities named Titans. Wait a sec. Who basically shaped the planet into what it is today. And now that they are no longer friendly, it is up to you and the gang of homies you just met, also known as Chrysos heirs, I don't know, I played the game in Japanese, I'm a weeb, I don't know if I said it right, to slay them. Take what is known as core flames, which are essentially their hearts, and return them to a holy puddle, which allegedly will begin a new era that will save Amphoreus. That being said, if the last planet we visited was anything to go by, then we can probably infer that there is a lot more going on behind the scenes. Mysteries to solve and questions that must be answered about not only the characters and their motives, but also about the true nature of this planet. And we'll get to that right after talking about killing things again. Unfortunately, we do not get to disembowel some gods in a hack and slash type game, which probably would be pretty good actually. Someone should probably make a game about that. But we do get our own tools to work with so we can do something close to that. In this planet, we get the introduction of a brand new path called Remembrance, which allows characters to summon their own memo sprites to help them in battle. Remember how each path had a specialization? Yeah, this one is summon a giant dragon that will melt the enemy clean off the bone, or a small unicorn that will headbutt people to death and also heal like 20 times your health bar. Thanks to this brand new path, you can do the kind of damage that will literally fry your PC into a molten pile of plastic. Not only that, we are very much encouraged to do AoE damage more so than anything else on this planet. Remember single target damage and break efficiency? Yeah, they basically broke their legs. So, not to mention, unlike most paths, in order for them to do damage, they need HP and not attack, which does mean that enemies are likely going to do a little bit more damage, which also means that if you use anyone that does not stack HP, well, good luck. That being said, attack frequency is still very advisable, so you could actually run follow-up attack teams in this planet and still be just fine. But why do so when you can have Pikachu use tackle? It does more damage than you'd expect. Now, as you can probably tell, this section is not going to last that long since I don't have that much to talk about, so I'm actually going to use this time to talk about the bosses, which, you know, they're definitely bosses. A giant statue thing that kills you with a lance, a half-born dragon that sucks the life out of you, until you eventually have to find Mega God. Pollux is by far one of the coolest designs that I've seen in this game. Not to mention, you know, great emphasis on my wife, so I'll take whatever I can get. In any case, as it is customary in any media set in ancient Greece, anything that lives and breathes will likely want to bathe in your blood and use your newborn child as a club to be your mother. But that has likely to do with the setting that they have been raised in. And boy, what a beautiful setting it is. If there is one thing that Honkai is able to do well time and time again, it would be the art direction and designs of each planet, so that you, the player, can spend ungodly hours searching for enough jades to pull for your in-game wife. Like what I did. And Amphoreus, of course, is no exception. Immense bathhouses that hold several people talking about their days. Bureaus placed everywhere containing epics and myths about their history. Decayed cities that demonstrate the true scale of the events that they have been through. Kingdoms that reflect their past glory through the ruins that now take place. The scenery in this planet in specific is so far my favorite from the game due to how rich in details and history this place is, even compared to the past visiting spots, which also did a great job at that. Cianzhou is also probably a contender for how beautiful the planet looked, but this probably takes the cake. The exploration, which brings mechanics of time travel in different dimensions, is also something that I thoroughly enjoyed, which also reminded me of that one video game that you probably played before. Not to mention, the environment is not the only thing in this place that really immerses you, because the music of this planet is so potent that it can make deaf people bop their heads so frenetically that their necks would snap in 20 different places. In Penacony, the music fit the whimsical and the dreamy vibe that they were trying to sell, even relying on some jazz elements as well at some points in the game that would be used according to the scenario you would be in. While in Amphoreus, they lean much more on selling this feeling of grandness, using choirs and heavy orchestral arrangements, strings and percussions, really selling on the idea of making you experience a Greek epic firsthand in Hoyoverse's inventive reimagination of the hit game Waifu of War. I made 3 consecutive jokes jokes about the same game, yes, leave me alone. Once the story takes a turn back into the sci-fi elements of Honkai, they make sure to implement the appropriate arrangements to make you remember that you're actually an alien with a ticking time bomb inside your chest, Gay or Waterdeep style. Yes, I plan on making a Baldur's Gate video, by the way. Which does come to beg the question, what is the premise of Amphoreus? What is this mixture of Greek mythology and sci-fi elements? Well, I suppose it's time to find out. This section has spoilers, you've been warned by the... In a way, the story is much like Attack on Titan when you really start to think about it. And not because you kill titans, but in the way that in the first season or two, you think you know where the plot is going. Until the writer decides to make you question both your intelligence for daring to guess that you would have to save a super duper computer from being destroyed by an immortal robot, and your emotional maturity to not cry over fictional characters almost simultaneously. So let's start with the basics. You, Joe Star Rail, have to venture into what is considered a paradise of memories, also known as the planet of Amphoreus, which had been gazed on by 3 eons. This is going to be important later. Since your last travel has left the Astral Express in need of fuel, you, Dan Hung, and March 7th are meant to go together and trailblaze like you would usually do. But March was unfortunately anified and cannot be a character for a while, so it is now up to just the 2 of you. You crash into the planet, find out you can't even return to the Express if you wanted to at the moment, meet some nice people, and are then taken to the last bastion of this world, the Golden City of Okema. I don't know if I said it right. Like I said, I played in Japanese. Which is being attacked by the Titan of Strife, one of the 12 titans in this world. They're basically mini eons. You help them out because of course you do, it's a video game, and then vow to the demigod of romance, Aglaya, who nearly kills you twice by the way, that you will participate in the epic that is called the Flame Chase Journey, where you will help the demigods reclaim the core flames of the remaining titans out of the 12 to send Amphoreus to a new era. Era Nova, which was prophesied by their ancestors as basically heaven on earth. However, the more you play and the more you talk with certain characters and enemies, the more you find out that things feel odd somehow. What is the Black Tide? Where did it come from? Why did March 7th turn into Aang after finding out that he was the Avatar? Well, hard to keep track of it when you find out that you actually died during the crash. And now you have to find the Titan of Death with Castorus, my beloved, to reclaim your soul. Losses occur, sacrifices are made, and you meet your own Pokemon in order to become one of the best support characters to this day. I just happened to forget about it. The moment that rivaled Wildfire and how hype it was finally surfaces, and I still listen to this while going to the gym, by the way, I recommend it. And the companions that you spent several hours with, bonding and experiencing life together, start to die one by one, until finally, at the end of the journey, things start to finally make sense. One of the biggest hurdles you've had to face through the entirety of the planet, the Flame Reaver, turns out to be none other than Finum himself, the friend that you've been adventuring with through the entire planet, or at least a version of him that has lived for several millennia to prevent Aeronova from happening. Only after defeating him does Finum finally remember what he had been doing from the start. Remember the joke I made about Sisyphus earlier? Well, this character happens to be Turbo Sisyphus, where instead of rolling a boulder, he had to kill his friends and steal core flames for over 33,550,336 life cycles. Yeah, nothing crazy or anything. What's more, Lygus is also revealed to be the one to oversee the entire history of Amphoreus, which also happens to be a simulation that he created in order to use the path of destruction so he can awaken Super Satan in order to destroy Nous, while also killing about half the universe in the process and sending the other half to the Stone Age. In summary, Amphoreus is the Matrix if it was set in Greece and Neo was an anime girl. And things do not slow down from there. Finhorn fights the Eon of Destruction and hurts him. March 7th becomes evil. You find out that the Eons that gazed upon Amphoreus before were the Erudition, the Remembrance, and then the Destruction. And you are sent back to the past alongside Finance friend, Mem, who actually happens to be Savini all along, who was there during the first up to the last cycle of Amphoreus as a spectator. The fate of not only Amphoreus, but the entire universe now rests on your shoulders. No pressure, right? I could go on and on about the twists and turns that this planet holds more depth, and it would probably make the video from like 8-10 minutes to 10 hours. But I feel like that would be a disservice. Yes, this planet is twice as long as Penacony, which was already very long to play through, but honestly, I didn't really regret a second. Despite some of the issues with pacing, the bloated at times dialogue, and the presentation in the earlier patches of this planet, with a lot of black screens, by the way, I don't know why they did that. I was absolutely engrossed in the story. The characters, each with their own motivations and journeys, each with a fitting end for them, while you stand side by side with them, watching it all flourish into their own conclusions, such as accepting their role in the world or making a decision for the greater good that will cost them their own selves, felt really faithful to the counterparts in actual Greek Greek mythology while adding their own flavor to it. The progressions of the plot, which despite the insane turns into sci-fi, also stayed very faithful to the source material the planet was entirely based on, always sticking to the idea of defying fate, no matter how impossible it seemed. Once I finally experienced the conclusion of the entire story, I did something I never expected to do over this game. I cried. Like a lot. Do bear in mind, by the way, that the only 2 times I ever cried over video games was while I played Cyberpunk and Nier Automata, so if that is not a testament as to how well done this questline was, I really don't know what is, because damn it, Amphoreus really was a romantic tale like none that was ever told before.
Only November in the end of our journey.